Hi everyone, I'm the investigation captain, Gold Investigator. Recently, we've received some claims from some players claiming to be innocent, despite investigators deeming that they had violated the rules. Let's take a closer look at the situation. This player was suspected of having used a no-recoil cheat. No recoil typically refers to a stable crosshair, concentrated bullet trajectories. Let's take a look at this player's actions. When the player first acquires the MK14, he tests it out by shooting at a tree. As you can see, when there are no enemies, the bullets had noticeable spread while firing from the hip. Now let's see what happens when encountering enemies. After equipping a 6x scope for long-range attacks, we can see that it does have noticeable vertical recoil. It led to the player only hitting the enemy twice when continuously firing. Perhaps some investigators might have doubts about the astonishing recoil from the MK14. After all, the recoil this player experienced is much lower than what the MK14 usually exhibits. That's why it's also important to consider which mode the player is playing. In Metro Royale, firearms have improved effects and come with attachments. So, it's expected that firearms in this mode have lower recoil, better control, and are more powerful. Taking this into consideration and observing the entire match, there was no indication of any no-recoil cheats. Therefore, we verified that the player in question was not cheating. For all investigators who found traces of recoil violations, we recommend more carefully assessing the player's crosshair and bullet trajectory. Next, we have another player who also feels wrongly accused. When battling out in the open, loads of enemies can be easily spotted, which provides an excellent opportunity to score eliminations. However, after getting themselves ready, instead of observing distant enemies in the open, this player suddenly turns around without gathering any information. What exactly is he looking out for? Look at the player's network status in the bottom left corner. Instead, it seems he has spotted enemies behind him. Before realizing that he still can't spot any enemies, he decisively chooses to move to the side of cover and aim down sights to observe. Please note that during the first attempt to peek, there were no traces of enemies. However, the player chooses to aim down sights a second time. This time, the enemy has already hidden themselves behind cover. Despite being injured, the player continues to aim down sights and maintain a crouched position because he knows the enemy is still behind cover. For actions like this, where a player lingers around an enemy with no visibility for a prolonged period while crouching or lying in wait and can anticipate the enemy's actions in advance, we can conclude that the player is cheating. Investigators can determine similar violations based on obvious actions. If you look closely, this player is firing at the enemy while they are being recalled in mid-air. This attack is not just an accurate shot, but he's also able to maintain it continuously. What's even more unreasonable is that despite the rapid speed, each bullet fired seems to have a mind of its own and manages to hit the enemy with pinpoint accuracy. Based on this outrageous violation, we can conclude that the player is cheating. As for these scenes that are too challenging for the eyes, investigators should make judgments based on these obvious signs of violations. Investigators encounter a variety of cases every day. Some violations are obvious to spot, while others are difficult to discern. There are also cases where players are genuinely innocent. It's crucial to repeatedly confirm player behavior off specific situations to minimize making wrong judgments and ensure accuracy.